Hey everyone, it's Rob Golfi here. You got to listen to this show. We're talking about do real estate agents do serve a purpose? We do, and check it out and listen to what I have to say. Also, you think they'll ever bring 30-year amortization mortgages in? Well, listen in and we'll find out. Hello everyone, this is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition with host Tim Dennis.
So we begin this week talking about what's going on in Rob's life and what's been going on with the real estate business across Niagara. And when we last touched base last week, Rob, things were beginning to, show an upturn. How's it going now?
Yeah, things are moving along. Multiple offers are happening, but not on everything. But the buyers are out there looking, but very cautiously and very, tiptoeing around. They're putting offers in. They're starting to buy. They're realizing that the interest rates are what they are, but they feel confident that they may come down. And things are moving along. Now the wave starts from Toronto all the way down to Niagara. And Niagara is really starting to pick up right now, where we knew Hamilton started picking up about 2 weeks ago, quite a bit, maybe even sooner, even like 3 weeks ago. So Niagara is now getting that hit. It's like the wave. You know how the storm comes and the clouds follow, and that this is exactly how the market works when it's coming down to right from the GTA. But it's moving along pretty good, really good. So people in Niagara, you put your house up for sale, and if you got a nice price it right, you'll probably do very well on your sale.
Talk to me about you had a couple of personal stories this week, though, because sometimes we don't get into those enough, because the kinds of crazy things that go on behind the scenes for you could make for a whole show. But let's talk about a couple of these.
So here's one quick little story. So I've got this property for sale. Actually for rent. It's one of my listings in Grimsby. It's a property that I have. It's a semi, and it's up for rent. And so an agent from Toronto comes down. It was around 5 o'clock that he went through this past week. I can't remember what day it was. And so anyway, no problem. He showed his clients and everything. Then that next agent shows up around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and calls me up and says, "Rob, there's no key in the lockbox, and it's opened." I go, "You're kidding me." And I'm like, "Oh, So anyway, I knew right away it was an agent.
Where were you at this point?
I'm sitting down in my living room, just watching probably, some movie or watching Seinfeld on TV or whatever. And so right away, I called I look on the system to find out who showed it prior to this person. And it was an agent from Toronto. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, I forget his name. I said, look, you showed the property. You've got the key probably in your pocket." And he's looking. And most agents, they're usually quick on the draw. "Nope, I don't have it. Somebody else that did it," because they don't, you know what I mean? He put me on hold there for a second. And he says, "Yeah, I do." I says, "I need that key back tonight." And he's from Toronto. He says, "I'm an hour and a half drive." And I says, "Buddy," I go, "you got to pay for, I would do it for you if you called me. Now, you got to get that key back to me. And you know what? What are you doing going all the way from Toronto to Grimsby, Ontario, showing a rental? You should have just referred it to somebody else."
Yeah.
And I go, you know what I mean?
Why do you say that? Because I was going to ask that question. I mean, how often does that happen?
Well, a lot of agents come from the GTA, with their buyers from Toronto and selling them something. But when it comes to a rental, there's not that much money to make on a rental. It's the aggravation to drive down a client. So who knows what the situation is. And I'm sure he's probably already said, "I'm not coming back down to the Niagara area." He's going to probably refer it because, can you imagine calling somebody at 8 o'clock at night and saying, "You got to come down to Grimsby and put that key back in that lockbox. Otherwise, we have an issue here." And it's like, I don't know why. Obviously he's a newer agent. He doesn't have a system set up. and that's why he's probably down in Niagara showing houses showing a rental. And but I'll tell you, sometimes we battle with agents, and they say, no, I don't have it, and I go, you're the last guy in there, so who has it? Because there's nobody else that walked through that house. And I keep their names on my radar, so if they ever decide to come through on something else, I'll give them a warning.
We have to know. Did he come back down?
He did. He did come back, and he did it. So you know why I know he did it? He sent me a picture that it's back in there at that night, and it was like close to, I think, 11 o'clock, or 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere in there. And he learned his lesson on that one. There's no doubt. Like probably 2.5 hours of his life of that night was gone because of a mistake that he made. And so yeah, but I got to tell you about a mistake that I made. Oh,
hang on.
Okay, we'll go. Keep going. Yeah.
The safe story.
I
want to. Is there a better way than lockboxes, though? I mean, obviously it's the way that things go for most people these days when you have to show a house. But is there a better way?
Sorry, I don't understand.
There is a better way. Then actually not really, unless they come and pick up the key and drop it off. Yeah. I mean, we've got Sentry Lock, it's an automatic timer. It opens up at a certain time for people to open the lockbox. They go there and they have to have their phone. It opens, and then once you lock it up, you can't open it again. You need permission from the switchboard to open that lockbox to get that key. But whether you had Sentry Lock or not, because he didn't put the key back and walked away with it in his pocket, he didn't even close the lockbox. He just forgot all about it. And so that showed me that he's probably a little bit of a newer agent, and he's just learning. And you know what? We all make mistakes, but he paid his price that night for that mistake. He really paid his price, which was good. I'm glad he honored that. I'll tell you, most veteran agents, you know what? First of all, they would say they don't have the key. And secondly, they probably wouldn't even come down. And but I would definitely force the guy to definitely come down to put that key back, because now he's inconvenienced me if I have to get another key.
That's a big problem. That's a big problem. You never know where the hell the key is, right? Now that it's out there.
Exactly. So, he did it, and he knew he made a mistake, and he was good to come back and put the key back. So
okay, segue of the week. We go from a lockbox, which is a tiny little, basically it's a tiny little safe, to a story about a bigger safe. Tell me about this.
So, I bought the old, what do you call it, CA building on Lake Street in St. Catharines. And right. So, we've done all the renovations on the outside. They got to repaint some stuff on the outside there of the building, but pretty well the outside's done. Just our sign's got to go up. So when I bought the place, there was a safe that was in there. And I just said, yeah, no, it's okay. Leave the safe. Maybe I can use it. So I got the safe with the CA building, and they used it to put their passports in and everything. So as I'm renovating this place, the contractor said, "Do you have any? We got to move this safe." And I'm going, "Okay, let me see what I can do." I was having a hard time trying to sell it. I said, and then I put it up for sale for best offer, and nobody was even biting on it. I don't know why. And and then after, the contractor says, "We got to get this safe out now." So I hired a company, trying to find somebody. I found somebody to get rid of it for $1,000. And so they show up, and they go, they didn't have the right equipment. And they said, "Rob, we can't move this thing. We need to get like a special equipment to get this thing moved. And we need more guys." And I'm like, "Are you kidding?" Oh, so anyway, they come back to me and say, it's going to be $2,500 now. And we did call around for somebody to move the safe, and it was around $2,000 to $3,000. So he wasn't off the number. So anyway, so $2,500. I go, okay, what am I going to do? I got to get rid of this thing. So they go to Toronto to pick up this equipment to help them move this thing out of this building, and they get it and they put it on the truck. Guess what? It sits on the truck. The truck practically busted its springs because it was the truck. It was actually the tires were hitting the bottom of the back end. It was over 3,000 pounds, this thing. And so they had to come back the next day with a different truck to load it up. And it was just this safe was a mistake that I should not have kept. I should have had CAs just take it. And nope, that thing must be moved from the property and taken away. And you know what? It would have cost them probably $2,500, not me. And so that was a mistake I made. I thought there was some value there, but an old safe like that, but it was filled with concrete all the way around. Like it was very secure. Like if there was an explosion or a fire, there's nothing would have been touched inside that safe. That safe was solid.
Well, that's what they're for, right? But
yeah.
we forget when you have to move them, and you sometimes do. It's a bigger job than you think.
Oh yeah, those safes are the type of things that once you plant them there and it sits, nobody wants to move those. I've got a large safe in my main office in the garage, and it's massive. Like you need like probably 4 guys to move it, just to move it onto something to slide it onto some kind of machinery to lift it and move it out of there. And like you almost need a forklift to move. Yep. So I've got another big safe. It's got a huge door on it, and it's got 4 more doors inside. So like different compartment doors. And safes are one you don't want to be paying for that. So if you see a safe, lesson learned, and it's big, as long as you're okay with it being there, fine. But if you think you can move it down the road one day, don't. Make sure it's on the contract that it's going to be removed. The seller has to remove it themselves.
Save yourself the hassle in a big way.
Yeah.
So we've talked about properties in the past, and you were talking about rentals and all those kinds of things on the program. But you have a new portion of the Golfi team, which is Golfi Property Management, right?
Yes, we actually bought another property management company, and we're rolling it into the Golfi Property Management. And so now we actually do property management, and we got the guy that owned that company is going to stick with us for a couple of years. He's actually working on getting his paralegal license, so he could end up being our full-time paralegal in handling all our paralegal stuff for landlord-tenant acts. But it's Golfi Property Management, and but if there's anybody listening or interested, don't hesitate to reach out. We just rolled that out, and we're excited about it. And we do a lot of leases, and we figured it's a good addition to the Golfi team.
Well, it's an all-encompassing thing, right? Now you're dealing with all forms of real estate, whether rental, condos, whether you're buying or selling or what have you. Now let's talk a little bit more about the local numbers. And I know your market watch is going to be out this week.
Yes, the market watch is coming out, and you know what? It is looking, it's pretty balanced, and I've got the 6-month numbers where people can see how the market's been doing in the last 6 months. But I've also got year over year. So if you take a look in your mailbox. If you haven't received one already, you'll be getting one this coming week. And it's a good indicator to see what the market's doing and everything else like that. But in some cases it's up from February of last year versus February this year. And in some cases it's down. It just depends on the month and everything. But I do feel that if we were looking let's say March of this year, chances I think will be a little better than March of last year, but I do feel that in 6 months from now, we're going to see a trend that's going to move up slightly, but not aggressively, but slightly up compared to what the prices are now. So the market's doing very, very well, and take a look at the Market Watch. And if there's any questions, don't hesitate to call us. If you're looking for a free evaluation on your home, no pressure, nothing like that, we will give that to you, and we would be grateful for you just calling us to let us have an opportunity to get a chance at your business.
Sounds like a plan. Listen, when we come back, other headlines in the real estate biz over the last little while, including some startling numbers on how long it would take the average person to buy a home in the GTA. We'll get to that when we come right back on the Golfi Real Estate Show.
Attention all realtors and real estate enthusiasts. It's that time of the year again. We are hosting our highly anticipated Win in Any Market event. Get ready to elevate your real estate game like never before. Join us at this luxurious Liana station in Hamilton for a morning filled with insights, strategies, and networking opportunities that will take your career to new heights. You can expect to learn from industry legends such as Mark Salerno, Madeline Towns, Matt Campoli, and Dave Hutchison, who will join the influencer panel and discuss modern day marketing and what that means for our real estate game. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Nick Bontis, professor in strategy from McMaster University, will provide valuable insights and actionable tips to help you work smarter, not harder, and of course, an exclusive panel with myself and Sam McDaddy, the official realtor for Toronto Raptors, as we speak on the importance and future of real estate teams. Discover cutting-edge strategies and trends shaping the industry and open doors to the best networking opportunities of the year. You will be able to connect with top realtors, industry leaders, influential figures, and exclusive Win in Any Market vendors following our speaking event. You can shop and connect to our vendor marketplace, as well as enjoy a networking lunch with fellow attendees to discuss everything you've learned. It doesn't get much better than that, and you have intimate access to all of this for free. This event is known to hit capacity, so don't delay. Secure your spot today. Avoid disappointment. Head to wininanymarket.com to register now. Together, let's win in any market.
Here we are back on the Golfi Real Estate Show for this week. Tim Dennis here. Rob Golfi of the Golfi Real Estate Team is hosting the program as always and talking about all things real estate. We're talking about prices these days can be a little scary to some people. And we all talk about the dream of home ownership. In a city like Toronto, though, it may seem like a pipe dream because of the amount of time that it might take the average person to buy a home. This story actually amazed me in terms of the numbers here, Rob.
Yeah, it says here that it takes 39 years for an average person to buy a home in Toronto. And so let's assume, okay, the interest rate, let's assume that they save 6.2% savings off, their check every week or whatever. And based on 25-year mortgage, fixed 5-year rate at 4.84%.
Right.
And, but I don't even think people save 6% a lot of times, especially the way the economy is going right now. It's tough to save money because there's always these problems that come up in people's lives that have emergencies. You know what I mean? People save money for vacations. People save money for, like if they have a car problem, they have to buy a car. Like I honestly think the 6.2% savings, I don't know. Like, I mean, some people can and some people can't, and most people can't. But it's crazy. It says the average single family home in GTA is $1,026,703. Takes 39 years for a medium household to save $205,000 down payment in Toronto. And Thunder Bay has most affordable homes. Average price is $264,500. Takes 3 years to save a down payment. London and St. Thomas require just over 8 years to save $35,500 down payment. And then the Hamilton Burlington, 12 years to save $57,000. It's
what do you tell people when they show you that number and they're talking to you about a home in Toronto and they think, well, I'm never going to be able to afford it. I can't wait 39 years to save the money here. Maybe what do you do? Tell them to look elsewhere because, hey, you could live in Thunder Bay.
Yeah, no kidding. No, but a lot of people in Toronto, they do rent and they can't afford. and it's tough unless they're moving there and they got a high paying job that eventually they can, save money. I'll tell you, Tim, there's a lot of people that we have that they're in their 40s, and some of them are even in their early 50s, are just buying their first house. And, and the thing is, they start saving, and some of them maybe inherited some money, and that was the only way for them to buy a house. And, and when they started saving, think about this. You started saving to buy a house, let's say in 2018, right? Now the houses are pretty affordable then. And then we had a boom happen, because of COVID and everything. So you're saving, you say, okay, I'm catching up. And all of a sudden now the market goes up. Now you have to save up more to catch up. And it seems like you're never catching up to the marketplace the way it's at. And a lot of people go through that, and it's a huge frustration, and it's depressing because, if they have a friend or a family that are buying a house to move in and they're feeling kind of down on themselves that they're not getting, they don't have a house and they want a house and they're renting and they feel that they can never just catch up. I get it. It is tough to save money, especially if you don't have any help with family or friends, but it does take years to save. And that's if you're not getting any complications in life, like car payments or car repairs, and they always say that the most stressful job in the world is the service manager at any dealership, because the one thing people hate is when they take the car in and the service guy says, well, you need to spend $1,500, and that's something nobody likes doing, right? Like we all hate that. So there's that expense that somebody has that they have to go. They have a car accident, they have to get a new car, and meanwhile, how insurance companies are. They don't give you they give you the value, obviously the value of it, but now you have to go buy another car and you have to put it down. It just doesn't work. A lot of times it doesn't work in good favors of people trying to save money. And there's so many, roadblocks that people hit to get to save that money, especially if it's a tough situation. It's even harder for a single person to do it, let alone, a couple doing it. So it does take years sometimes, and it's a tough situation. It's tough.
Out of all of the people that come to you and all of the deals that you do on a regular basis, Rob, what's the percentage of people who only have the minimum down payment?
First-time buyers do. There's a lot of them. The first-time buyers, they're scrambling and scraping, and a lot of times on closing day they sometimes have to come up with maybe another $2,000 to $5,000 because who knows, maybe the homeowner paid for the property taxes for the rest of the year, so he has to get credited for the taxes for that year. So let's say you buy a house, the closing date is February, but the sellers paid for the taxes for the entire year. Well, guess what? You just made that buyer have a tough time, because he's going to have to come. Let's say the taxes are $6,000. That buyer has to come up with $6,000 to credit that seller for his taxes that he paid in advance. So you don't really want that happening to you. Most people don't pay the taxes all. They usually pay it by quarterly. But there's always that one that does. And then now your down payment, and then you got your all your other fees on that, legal, all that. And then now you got to reimburse the seller his taxes. And that hurts the deal. Like somebody's got to scrape and scramble for that.
And that's a really good point too, because it's kind of where I was going. If you have a down payment and you've been scraping and saving and coming up with just the right amount of money so that you can get into this deal, and you've got the down payment, how much of a cushion should you give yourself? Because if the down payment is, I don't know, if it's $50,000, or if $50,000, should I have $55,000 available?
Yeah, but there's land transfer tax on top of that, right? Land transfer tax, legal fees, and then, but it's always good once you know what the land transfer tax is and you know what your down payment is. I'd say you should have an additional $5,000. Just, you never know what something happens, that you need to deal with on closing date. I remember when I was first starting out, and on closing day, I was scraping and scrambling. I remember it was always more than I anticipated. I worked the numbers and I said, okay, I'm good. And it always ended up working out more. And I had to, dig another maybe $2,000 or $3,000 on closing day. And it just, you think you got your numbers just right. And then and then the lawyer's calling you and says, well, we need this much money. And we're like, holy smokes, like it's tough. It's tough for first time buyers for sure.
All right, let's move ahead to some other things going on this week. One of which is that magic number of $1 million. And you and I've gone through this a few times on the show, is that magic number of $1 million is not what it used to be. There are more homes that are available for $1 million than there ever have been. Where would you find most of them, Rob?
You know what? Obviously, Oakville and some Toronto areas, like Oakville has 69.1% of their homes listed is over $1 million. Richmond Hill, Richmond, BC, and there's quite a few. In Delta, BC leads the way at 80% of the homes are over $1 million, followed by Vancouver at 70%. But just to give you, St. Catharines, 9.5% of the homes are over $1 million. So whatever's listed on the MLS, 9.5% is over $1 million. If you look in Woodbridge, it's pretty close to 60% of the homes are over $1 million. Hamilton is 33% of the homes on the market are over $1 million. Burlington is 38%. And Montreal at 21.9% of the homes that are listed are over $1 million. Montreal is actually a pretty decent, for a metropolitan city. It's pretty affordable. I mean, it is climbing. There's no doubt, but it is affordable. And but I'm gonna tell you, those numbers in 5 to 10 years from now, over $1 million, it's going to, let's say St. Catharines right now, it's at 9.5%. It's going to be at 25% within 10 years from now. And everywhere else, it'll just more than double in percentage wise. So, I mean, who would have thought a new townhouse would sell for like $700,000-800,000? I mean, I remember when they were brand new townhouses, probably 10 years ago, we're selling for $250,000 brand new. So like things have just gone crazy. Now I do feel that those newer townhouses that are going up in within 5 to 10 years are going to be well over $1 million. So like I said, always, if you're buying houses, the lower the price the house is, the higher, the greater that the equity will build on it, because there's more people looking at buying those kind of houses. There's the majority of the population is what they're looking for is less expensive.
I want to get into a situation or a term that a lot of people may not understand, and it may scare some people when they hear the term 30-year mortgage. A lot of people will immediately say, well, does this mean I won't own the home for 30 years? Is this what does it mean, and how close are we to actually embracing a 30-year mortgage in Canada?
I think they may do it because they need to make it affordable, but could that increase housing prices? That's the scary part about it. So most people, when they apply for a mortgage, it's a 25-year amortization. That means that when you get the mortgage, you've got it gives you 25-year chart of what your mortgage payments will be, whatever interest rates they are. But if they increase it to 30 years, it will decrease the mortgage payment. But would that help push the real estate value to go up? So that's why they haven't jumped on that much. And same thing, if they drop the price, drop the interest rates now, they're not going to do it in the spring market when the spring market's already, doing pretty good on its own with at the current interest rates. Now, if they drop the interest rate a quarter or a half point, you may end up having another real estate boom. So they're very cautious now in what they're going to do with the interest rates. And but maybe, doing the amortization from 25 to 30 years is a good idea. Like if you go to the England, their amortizations, I think, are 50 plus years. And if you go to in the U.S., what's great about the U.S. is if you filed and got a mortgage at 2%, that 2% mortgage is solid for 25 years amortization. Like it's not like you have a renewal every 5 years or every 2 years. Like if you get a mortgage in the U.S. and you lock in for 30 years at 2%, you've got that mortgage for 30 years at 2%. That's and that's why sometimes a lot of people don't move in the U.S. Because they do have a mortgage at 2% locked in for 25 or 30 years.
That's what confuses people, I think, when they hear 30-year amortized mortgage. It doesn't mean that you get a mortgage today and then you don't renegotiate it for 30 years, because usually you re-up every 5, right?
Right. Every 2, 3, or 5 years here in Canada. But in the U.S., they have that, but they also have a 30-year lock-in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not bad. Like those people that locked in at the 25 years or whatever in the U.S. during COVID, they're not going to move. Are you kidding? Their mortgage payments are going to be small, and they're in good shape. I mean, once they sell the house, that's it. If they buy another house, they don't get that rate. They're back to normal where everybody else is. So that you might as well keep that house and rent it instead of selling it, because you're never going to that interest rate's never going to come back. And that I don't think in my lifetime, Tim. But if you ask a millennial, maybe. I doubt it. I don't think you'll see it ever again.
When we come back on the Golfi Real Estate Show, a question that I'm legitimately going to ask Rob. I mean, in this day and age, with all the things out there on the internet, do we need real estate agents anymore? Yeah, well, we'll get an answer from a real estate agent when we come right back on the Golfi Real Estate Show. Back on the Golfi Real Estate Show. I'm Tim Dennis, but he's Rob Golfi. And we've been talking every week on this show about the reasons that a real estate agent, the right real estate agent, somebody with the knowledge and the experience and the processes and all of these things to work for you is the right way to go. And of course, in this day and age, like any other business, digital options are out there. There are ways to sell homes online, et cetera, et cetera. What do you say when people ask you whether or not you're still relevant in 2024 in this digital world?
Yeah, no, I do feel that. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're a realtor, you're going to say this. I'm going to tell you, a lot of the private deals, and that's why they're not in business anymore. Like there was Comfrey, then it went to Purple Bricks, then it went to I can't remember what was the other company name that they went to. That was kind of a private. They closed up because too many problems happened, and there's a lot of lawsuits with private people selling privately. Realtors are responsible for making sure the information is correct. There's stats that show that realtors do get more money versus if somebody's selling privately. And negotiating, sometimes having a mediator in between the buyer and the seller does make a difference. Like the buyer has his own agent, the seller has his own agent. And when they're negotiating against each other, there's no emotions between the realtors. And there shouldn't be if there is any. And so that, so you can go back to your client and, you're not going to, you want to try to put the deal together. You're trying to do your best to get the best deal for your client. But it does make a difference. There will always be realtors there that put the deal together. The difference between, let's say car sales. I mean, if you're buying a GM, whatever car, whatever brand, they make that same brand with the same upgrades and everything on it. Like it's either this price or not. I mean, that's easier. Either you want it or you don't. There's GM dealerships and Ford and Chrysler all across the country. I think in the future, there won't be any kind of negotiating. I think people are gonna be ordering their car. It's gonna be delivered to their house, and that's it. They go online, check off what they want, and that's it. There's not gonna be where you have to sit in a room with your salesperson. That salesperson goes to the sales manager and says, well, he wants to pay this, and try to negotiate. That, I think that's gonna go away in probably 10 to 15 years from now. But with a realtor, you do need somebody, because every house is different. There's not two houses the same. Some have more upgrades, less upgrades. So you need to have a realtor there to be the liaison to make sure that you can put that deal together.
And there was an interesting couple of paragraphs in this article about this. Was that okay? You can go online, you can get your information online, I suppose. But who's putting that information in there in the first place? They're the realtors.
That's right. Yeah, we're putting the information in there. So they have an idea what the market will do. But sometimes, you know what? Sometimes, like I said, we've seen people sell privately, and we get emergency calls. Rob, we sold a house to this people privately. Now they can't close, and we're supposed to close in a week, but we bought another house. How fast can you get here to get this house sold for us? And yeah, because nobody qualified that buyer. That buyer went in and made a deal with the seller, and nobody qualified that buyer to say if they are qualified to buy a house in that price point. So the buyer just thought, oh yeah, I can buy this, I can afford it. Like, they didn't go to the bank right away. They probably went to the bank after it was a firm deal, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before closing. And then the bank said, sorry, you don't qualify. And so now they put the seller in a very bad situation where they've bought, and now they can get sued if they don't close, because they need to close this house to buy the other house. And so it's a chain reaction. So that's why you got to be very, very careful dealing privately, with people. Everybody that we deal with when they're buying a house, we qualify them, make sure they're approved to buy a house in that price point, and just so that we don't leave somebody hanging on closing date.
And it's another one of these reasons you and I have gone over before. But if you're buying from out of town, say, sure, you can look at the pictures, you can look at the stats online, and you're thinking, what do I need a real estate agent for? Well, the realtor is the one that's going to tell you that 2 houses down is a grow-up, and that they closed the bus stop at the end of the street years ago, and blah, 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 because your realtor is going to know that. You're not, from a distance.
That's right. And there's airplanes that fly low there in that area, or there's a train that's hidden that nobody sees, especially, there's some places, in rural areas, people don't know there's a train that runs through some properties, and nobody notices it until they move in, right? So realtors would know that, and we have to disclose that.
Huh. And it just makes sense, but you know what people are like. If I can do it myself, if I can do it cheap, I can save a buck. It's better for me. But I think you quoted the stats saying that people who buy the homes with a realtor working in their favor generally get what did I read? 50 to 100,000 more than the people who try and do it themselves.
Absolutely. And and I get it. People, feel that, there's the fees of realtors are up there, but realtors, they do spend money on marketing and staging the house and getting things together and making sure that the exposure is more than it is. Like, I know our online presence is far superior than any other realtor. I can challenge anybody wants to challenge me on that. I can show them. We go on Google Trends and we compare ourselves to other realtors, and it shows that our online presence for listings is far greater. And we in some areas, I know Grimsby, we get more people logging on to our website than realtor.ca. We compare ourselves to realtor.ca, and we're strong in a lot of different areas in Niagara. So people do come to our website looking for properties, and so we are one of the go-to for looking for listings. And when people are looking to buy a house, they'll probably go to us. They'll go to realtor.ca and whatever other large platforms there are out there. But we are one of those large platforms that people look for houses. Now, if you were private for sale, you're not going to have that exposure. That buyer that could be the right buyer for your house may not see it where he's looking. and then you might miss that buyer, and that buyer may have paid you more money for your house. So, and if you don't see that, you're not going to get that. Like, you know what I mean? So you're not going to, that buyer's not going to see it. And then he finds out that it sells, too late. And he says, well, I would have paid you more money for that house. Well, one, they didn't have the exposure that they should have. And we get that. Like, we've listed properties that sometimes private or even other agents have had for sale. And I probably told you this story once before. We had one in Fort Erie where the house that we had for sale was down the street, but everybody had to pass by this other house that was for sale. And so anyway, we sold the house down the street. The owner calls one of our agents, says, listen, how did you sell that house? Because everybody had to drive by my house to go to that house that you sold, and nothing's happening with his house. And and we can't, disclose. Just say, hey, listen, we're the Golfi team. We got one of the most exposure online. And anyway, he didn't sell. Calls us up. We end up selling it after, and he realized the difference. Sometimes people don't realize the difference. And sometimes people go with, the cheapest and the lowest or whatever. I'm telling you, like, if this is one of the most expensive investments of your life. Like, you don't want to give this to somebody that doesn't have the exposure. For instance, here's a good example. Probably 40% of the realtors on the real estate board doesn't even sell a house. They don't even sell a house. And then I think another 38% sell between 1 and 6 homes. Now, if you're going for swimming lessons, right, and you want to learn to swim, and are you going to go with a guy that doesn't know how to swim, or a guy that swims just a mediocre, a person that, that does very little? You want somebody that is going to teach you or save you. You want a lifeguard that does know his stuff, or even an instructor that knows his stuff, that teaches you how to swim right. You're not going to go to like a doctor that only does one bladder operation a year versus a guy that does 3-4 a day. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. And sometimes,
and you're also not going to look up how to get the operation done online either.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want a guy looking at Google how to, repair a bladder on a human being. Yeah. But, and that's the one thing people lose sight of when they're dealing with a realtor. Like lawyers are expensive, right? And we know the more expensive the lawyer, the smarter they are, the better they are. And as you go down the line, you can get that real cheap lawyer that just, finished law school. He's not going to have the experience that you need to get you to win whatever you need to win as a lawyer, your case. So you gotta hire good people that will give you a good price for your house and sell it fast. And it's like anything you do. It's like you got to find the experienced. I've lost out on people that just got their real estate license, and I said your house is worth $750,000, and that young or new agent says it's worth $800,000 and $900,000, and we're like, whoa, again. And then it sits for 6 months, and then meanwhile the market's changed. Maybe it went down 6 months, or nothing's going on, and that guy really had to move, and now he can't even. Now he's desperate, and now the house has been on the market for a while. Now it's going stale. Everybody knows that it was on the market, so he lost all those potential great buyers that would have bought his house, but because those buyers thought it was too high in price, because that agent wanted to win the listing. Oh, because he came up with the highest price. Meanwhile, sometimes people overlook experience, exposure, and everything else. And it hurts them. They find out later. And we get calls all the time. Like, I should have went with you, Rob. I've had people where I went and sat down with them, and they didn't go with me. They went with somebody else, but it took them like 7, 8, 9 months to sell. They moved to the next house. they call me 5 years later, say, listen, I should have went with you originally. I didn't, because the other agent, fed me a bunch of lies and gave me a high number, and you were bang on with your number. It did sell exactly what you said it was going to sell for, but I had to wait 9 months to get it sold. And meanwhile, it cost me money because I had to hold 2 houses because of it. So you got to be very, very careful. Like it just, I get it. If you're going to get realtors, get quotes on like 3 realtors, get quotes on 3 reputable realtors in the marketplace. Don't, everybody learns and grows in this business. I was there. I've been a new agent, and I didn't get some listings when I was chasing it. But I learned real fast. I learned the market real fast. I studied real fast, and I got my experience, and I did it. But be very careful when you're hiring a realtor, especially when one of the most biggest investment of that you own.
Let's finish giving some important information to people. If you're sitting there thinking, now's the time, maybe I got to stick my nose into this business right now, but what's my house worth? How can you get an estimate from you very easily right now, Rob?
Yeah, you can go to, if you want, like, this is just an online thing. It goes by algorithms through what's sold in the area, but don't go, it's probably about 85% correct. It gives you a range. You can go to golfihomevalue.com, fill it in, and it'll give you a general idea, but you still need a real live human being there to overlook and see all your upgrades and see everything that you have. But you can call us at 905-641-0308, or just go email me at robgolfi@golfiteam.com, or go to our website at robgolfi.com, and you can catch us anywhere. You can't miss us anywhere on social media. We're always posting stuff on there, but don't hesitate to reach out. I know that and sometimes we don't get the business, but guess what? The homeowner are using our information and experience that we tell them what to do, and they still go with the inexperienced person. So they may not like our price because we were straightforward and we were transparent with the price, but they use some of the tactics that we told them what to do when they do go on the market. And but they went with somebody else. We get that, and those houses are still sitting, but they'll give us. They usually give us a chance after, because they wanted to try at a different price, and we lose out on those agents that go higher on the price and they don't sell.
More info and more advice coming up next week. Rob, we'll talk then. Thanks.
Thank you.